Well, it's good to be here to talk about Mike Wood, one of my favorite people of all time. And my music background, I grew up in a musical family. And I remember my mother said, now you're 12 years old and you must learn an instrument. She was thinking violin. I said, drums! and it went from there. So I had two sides. One was rock and roll. High school was a Led Zeppelin cover band. And then the whole folky side was really taken by Peter, Paul, and Mary. So then when I met Mike, it was like, this is Mr. Folk music. Mm-hmm. And it enhanced that side. I learned so much from him. So I think it might have been through Father John Stattmiller, because I had ventured forward to play guitar for guitar mass. Tiptoed in very timidly, and he was so encouraging. He said, and I knew he had this fellow he wanted me to meet. So it was Mike who had the liturgical music just under his belt so well. Yeah.
I think we met musically, playing folk music. We used to do these little gatherings in people's backyards back in the day and have these sing-alongs. Mike was kind of the center of it, and I played. Somehow I got involved, and I was playing bass then, upright bass, and we just had so much in common and just hit it off from the beginning. You know, I've always said Mike is just a pure good guy. Mm-hmm. He's just, and a real good model for me. I just said, you know, this guy wouldn't hurt a flea, and he was just so honest, and I learned so much just from him being who he is. But we got along because he was in the seminary for a short time. He became a teacher, I became a teacher. He wrote music, I wrote music. We were all writing around the same time. So kind of in that folk style. I ended up getting my degree in composition from Catholic U and kind of went on, and I've done a lot of writing through my whole life and teaching music and playing. So yeah, but Mike's the best, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I come from a very musical family too, and I grew up singing harmony with my sisters, and I would tell them what part to sing, and Nick knows all about that. And
just tell me what to sing.
And then we would put things together. So my background is really as a singer. I come from a long line of musicians. I have a great grandmother who studied with Franz Liszt, who was a teacher, taught over 4,000 kids how to play music. But anyway, it filters down, it's just everybody's music. And I was working in Chicago and singing, and I did that for a number of years, and it's a long story. And then I married and moved to New York, and then worked in Los Angeles a little bit, and then I came home with a destroyed marriage and 2 kids. So I was never going to play again, ever. I didn't want to sing, I didn't want to play. I wanted to raise my kids, find a job, and I became a teacher. And I was never going to play again. So what happened was people called, and the church was right across the street. They wanted me to sing. They heard that I was singing, and they wanted me to come and sing and play guitar. Nope, don't even own a guitar. Not going to do it. So that went on for a year or 2. And then one day, somebody got my mother involved, and she said, there's this young man who plays guitar and sings over at St. Mark's, and he really wants to meet you. So, and he's married to Patty Smith, and I had gone to college with Patty at St. Mary's Springs. So I knew Patty from that. And I said, well, okay, I'll do it for you, Mom. So I went over, I didn't have a guitar. I went over there at St. Mark's. There was nobody there but Mike Wood. And he was this cute little guy, and Patty Wood was one of the most beautiful girls I'd ever seen. I said, Patty Wood is married to this little guy? You know? I did. It was just my reaction. But he was, we started singing together, and I started doing some harmony, and then he said, can you play for church sometime? I said, well, maybe. So then he took me to Columbus to get a guitar for myself, which I still have. And he sort of pushed me into it again, pushed me back into music. So that's how that happened, but he was a lovely, lovely man. These two men and Mike, the importance to me when you're doing music is who you're with. And it's much more important than the music, believe it or not. The people are more important. And there has to be goodness. And these two men and Mike are some of the goodest people I know. They have lovely souls. And that means so much to me, to work with people who get it, who understand why you're performing, and that it isn't about you, that is for the people you're playing for. It's to give them a moment of happiness, peace, thoughtfulness, something like that, and it's your little gift. You know, you're like the little drummer boy. This is all I have, and I can give that to you for now.
We have a wedding to play for. Let's rehearse. And we get there, and it could be an hour. When we first got together, we'd be talking, we'd be catching up. How's your family? How's this? What about this? Issue in the church or whatever. And we go, oh, we better get around to practicing. So the friendship came first.
Yes.
And then we practiced.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
It was never about Mike. When Mike played, it was never had a sense it was about look at me.
Never.
I'm this. It was never that.
Never.
It was all about, well, what you were saying. We're here to help nurture the people. It was never.
It's your gift, and that's how you choose to use it.
Yeah.
You play at nursing homes.
Yeah.
It gives people great happiness for a brief period of their life, and that's what you're supposed to be doing with that gift.
Exactly.
And that's one thing that I feel I learned directly from Mike. That's what, I mean, not in those words, he didn't say that, but that's who he was. His music was something he could give to people, and he did.
And I think about what I'm doing now. I'm in a four-piece band that plays for contra dances, like square dances, and dances and swing dances and that's so much fun. The focus is not on you. Nobody's looking at the band, but you hear the band, and there's this whole interaction with dancers. So I think I can give some credit to Mike for that path and recognizing the importance of that. I have a lot of fun that way.
Yeah, and Mike was just natural. That was who he was. I mean, I've played all my life with people that are, maybe way better players, but not the person that Mike was. And they're not interesting to play with. And
sometimes I think the warmth that you project as a group outweighs your ability, your learned ability.
Exactly.
Because again, it's about the people for whom you're doing it, and if they're getting that warmth, rather, if you go look at a lot of musicians, they are definitely look at me. You may look at me. You are allowed to observe me performing, and that's the attitude. And then others are embracing, and Mike was an embracer. He hugged you with his music.
Yeah, and I just mentioned briefly about Mike's composing and writing. I talked to a lot of people about those that write a lot, and it's almost universal. I didn't write the song; it just came out. James Taylor says, "I didn't write the song. I'm the first one that heard it," and that's the way I hear all the time. Stevie Wonder, people like that saying, I don't know where that came from. Yeah. And that's the way Mike was. Yeah. It wasn't like, look what I wrote. And I think that's the vibe and what we shared. Now, we all believe that.
If my daughter were here, Sarah Hart, she's a singer-songwriter, and if she were here, she would talk about the influence Mike had. My kids were dragged to every rehearsal that we ever had, because they were just little kids running around.
Little kids, they'd be here.
Jessica would either be reading a book or writing something specific, and Sarah would be taking it all in. And of course, she became a musician, which was obvious from birth. But so she has talked about the influence Mike had on her life from time to time. So you should ask her sometime what she feels about Mike. All the times we were together and she heard him singing and playing. He was a gentle soul, lovely. Yeah.
It was during the time of Vatican II, so we were both pretty liberal. Well, we were very liberal.
Progressive.
Progressive, yes. Very progressive, and we had that commonality. So we talked at length, even up till the end, about the church and the activities and the way it was going and what we believed in. And our music reflected that. We were all about trying to develop community within the church, and when we played, and the music both of us wrote was geared to that and oriented to that. So that was a real, and Mike and I would go to these Catholic music conventions and kind of sometimes make fun of people there, but it's in fun. We laughed and laughed, and it was just, we'd go to little workshops and stuff.
Oh yeah,
But
I remember that.
yeah, but that, I think we had shared that, and politically we had our same beliefs. I mean, we just got along. I mean, we just, don't
There
you
wasn't
think
any
that's-
work. There wasn't any
No,
work,
no,
Jack.
no, we just got
Just-
each other. And I would say no egos. A lot of musicians, artists, performing artists have big egos,
I
and
think we've probably all
none of
worked.
us seem to have
I
that.
think we've probably all worked with people who were,
Oh yeah, we've all
and
worked.
it isn't
It is.
fulfilling. Not just it isn't fun, it isn't fulfilling.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And we all have our strengths too.
Yeah,
Nick's strength was playing so wonderfully. His strength was playing so wonderfully. My
Yeah.
strength was harmony. That's
Yeah.
what I do best, is harmony. And so Mike always allowed me that. Just go ahead. You go ahead and put harmony to it. We never questioned what I was doing or on his
Right.
records.
And
You
you,
know,
and you would say to Mike, we'd be arranging a song, and you'd say, "Mike, just sing," and then you would overlay the part,
Right,
the harmony
right,
on
right.
top of what he's saying.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was good. That was a good thing.
It was easy.
Yeah, it was
It was-
easy.
it made it easy.
It was easy. That's the thing.